So it's your last morning to turkey hunt and the pressure's on. And you've been working the same bird all morning and he's not budging. And that old Clash song keeps running through your mind. Should I stay or should I go? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. Be right back. Hey, thanks for sticking around. This is Gen 10-9, where we give common sense advice for everyday fishing and hunting situations for your average sportsman. And today we're talking about trying to do the almost impossible, which is advance on a tom that won't budge from a strut zone. So with that out of the way, let's get started. So before we start, two disclaimers are in order. First, we have a cicada hatch going on right now, so if the background audio is a little irritating, there's nothing I can do about it, so try not to let it bother you. Second, the money shot in this video is not great. This was my first turkey hunt with a GoPro, and really it's miraculous that I got anything on this tape. So if you're watching this video for entertainment purposes, just know that's not what this video is about. This video is about tips and strategies to help you if you ever find yourself in the same situation. And then on a technical note, I had to boost the audio so you could hear the tom interacting with me. And the side effect was it made my calling sound a lot louder than I usually call. So just keep that in mind. I boosted the audio so you could actually hear the tom. And then lastly, with respect to this strategy, you got to know going in that it doesn't have a high success rate. I put the chances of actually seeing the tom that you're hunting at less than 30%. And harvesting him, that's probably less than 10%. So I'm only providing this video to give you some tips and strategies in case this is your only option. In other words, it's your last chance to harvest a tom, and the only way you can do that is trying to advance on him while he's in his strut zone. So keep that in mind. So to begin with, I went with a 3 decoy setup. Here's the tom and then 2 hens. But as it is, I couldn't even get a bird to come into my field on this morning. So all morning I had birds all around me, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 yards. And I even got a bird to come into about 100 yards or 150 yards, and he's about to gobble right now. I got the impression that he was moving closer, so I got set up. So, as you can see, he just interrupted my call, which is usually a good thing, but as it is, he'd actually moved further away, and that was a really bad sign. I got set up anyway, but the chances weren't in my favor. He was moving away from me. And after a while, I decided that my best chances were to cross over to the other side of the ravine where the closest birds were located. Well, I'm in a sticky wicket. I got turkeys on the left, turkeys on the right. I don't know which way to go. I really hope you like that hair. It took 60 years to get hair to look that good. Stay tuned. I think it's going to be turkeys on the right. I went this route for 2 reasons. First, the birds on the left were not only further away, they were in an elevated position, and that made me have to go through open timber and pasture, and that would be virtually impossible. Whereas the bird on the right was closer, and there was a lot more cover between me and him, which made advancing on him easier, and he's just about to give himself away. Now at this point, I'd only advanced about 20 yards from my previous position, just on the other side of the cedars, and he's about to give himself away again. Now, this location was a bad decision on my part because it required the tom to go through too much brush to get to me. But I was concerned as to whether I'd bumped him, so I had to wait until he called again. So by now, I realized why he wasn't budging. He was in his strut zone, and he was expecting me to come to him, which is natural turkey mating behavior. So I decided to wait for one more call so I'd know whether it was safe to advance or not. So now I felt like it was safe enough to advance at least another 20 yards to a better position. One of the things I commonly do whenever I sit down is to try to make sure I know my area around me and what is the best option for moving forward the next time I get a chance. So at this point, I came to a small bench, which gave me a better field of fire, but I needed to figure out whether I'd bumped him or not, so I had to wait and see if he called again. So with that call, I knew it was safe to try to advance, and I used this small ditch to hide my movements. Now, when you're walking or advancing on a bird, you really want to work hard at not making any loud noises or breaking any branches or anything like that. That might shut your bird down, so you really got to try to walk on soft ground and quiet ground like this creek I'm walking through. Now that call was a bad sign because it told me that he was moving away and I needed to act fast. Whenever you arrive at a new location, you want to take a couple seconds and make sure that you're comfortable. You never want to try to hold an uncomfortable position while you're waiting for your tom to show up. Now that call was a really good sign because it was clear that the bird had moved back towards me. But it was also a bad sign because he was so close that I couldn't just stand up and walk to that barn. So in order to get that barn between me and the bird, I had to crawl. Now that call was a bad sign because he was either facing away or worse yet moving away, and I needed to do something quickly in order to bring him back. Well, as you just heard, he answered me, and that told me it was time to get set up and to get comfortable. So I'm not sure it's obvious on the tape, but he just answered both of my calls, and the second call was clearly closer than the first call. So I knew he was committed to coming in, and I needed to be prepared, and that means in a shooting position. Now the rest of the hunt is in real time, so I need to take a moment to explain a few things. First, I expected the bird to come here, but regrettably, he came from here, and as a result, this small weed actually cut out some of the money shot in this video, and that was unfortunate, but I could never have expected that to happen. Maybe in hindsight I should have, but I didn't. The reality is that toms hardly ever do what you expect them to do, and that's why I spend a lot of time looking around me, because I can't tell you how many times I've had a tom come from a completely different direction than what I expected. So regarding my calling sequences, I'm using clucks and purrs, which are very common sounds that hens make while feeding. And it's been my experience that you need to do so softly rather than loudly. Because in my way of thinking, I'm trying to trick the tom into thinking I can't hear him, but he can hear me, which motivates him to call more. If he doesn't think the hen is hearing him, he will call more and he will call louder. Now, when I do use locating calls, I also use them softly rather than loudly because I want the bird to be motivated to call to me, which gives himself away and helps me understand whether he's coming to me or not. And he's about to come to me right now. And right there is why they don't allow 60-year-old men to serve in the Army. Most of us fall down whenever we start running. So it's a beautiful day here west in the Mississippi. Last day of the hunt, last chance, and the Lord gave me a bird. Just have to go home in about 3 hours, so it was a good day west of the Mississippi. Pretty hard hunting east of the Mississippi, but good not to get skunked this year. It happens, but not this year. Good day west of the Mississippi. Good day for a turkey hunt. So to wrap this video up, in all fairness, you gotta know that there were 3 things going in my favor that were critical to this hunt's success. The first is that the bird was very vocal, and this allowed me to know precisely the area he was in, as well as my best path for advancing on him. And second, I was very familiar with the property that I was hunting on. If you're unfamiliar with the area that you're hunting in, then the odds are really stacked against you for successfully advancing on a tom. And lastly, and most importantly, he never called in a hen. If he'd have called in a hen, he would have left with her. He also didn't call in a predator, which would have shut him down. But as it is, he didn't call in either, and he stayed vocal. And when you're in that kind of situation, that's the best you can hope for. So in the immortal words of Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that. If you appreciate the video and learned something from it, then give it a thumbs up and hit like. Hey, may the Lord send a tom strutting your way. Thanks for watching, and God bless.